Good start. Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah, I'm ready. Whenever you are, Timmy. I'm already recording.
You're right there, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to turn your mic off.
Yeah, that's good.
Muesli bars on the bottom, book on the top.
That's good. We're good.
Check.
Hello, and welcome to the Bodysurf podcast with your budgie boys, Tim and Owie, and we're here at Whomp Off, and we have a very special
Whomp
guest. Fuck off, okay. What you do if you're unhappy with a take, swear, and then we can't use it.
Yeah.
So it's a little insider trick.
We're not explicit anymore, are we?
No, we're a family-friendly show. All right. Hello, and welcome to the Bodysurf podcast with your budgie boys, Tim and Owie, hydrated by Hairy Man Brewery, and we are at Whomp Camp 2022, and we have a very special guest in the studio, all the way from Victoria, Andre Gregor. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, gentlemen.
Oh, mate, what's going on with your microphone?
Is that better?
No.
It's
One
off.
second.
You're going to have to do it again.
Have a go.
Fucking hell.
Yeah! Welcome to the podcast, Andre. How you doing, mate?
Good.
You can edit that out or not?
No, leave that in. That's how you get them.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
tell them you're going to edit it out, and then you leave it in.
Yeah, anyone would have thought that you were still on the mid-strength, Timmy.
So that's my opening comment now.
Yeah, that's right.
Stuck with it.
Andre, tell us a bit about yourself, because we don't really know you. I mean, you're a new face on the scene for us anyway. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you hail from, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had an army upbringing. So 18 houses in the first 21 years of my life.
Jeez.
And no matter where we lived, like we lived all over Australia. I lived in Israel for a year, Germany for 2 years. But Kangaroo Island, South Australia was actually our base. So when I was born, my parents built a little redwood stilt kit home there. And basically, I'd say that's where my passion with body surfing came in as well.
Wow.
Because no matter where we lived, we'd always go back for 2-3 months. And I basically learnt how to swim there in the rock pools of Pennington Bay. And yeah, sensational. Grew from there.
And when you were a young bloke getting into the water for the first time, were you just sort of chucking yourself into waves? Did you have any flippers or anything like that going on back then?
No fins, no boogie boards. It was always just pretty much boardies, maybe a wetty.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't start using fins until about 7 years ago.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah.
And what were they? What did you use?
Actually, I lie. I probably had fins about 13 years ago, and they were Stealth, the real long ones.
Yeah.
And that scarred me for another 5 years, and I didn't use fins. Couldn't walk forwards in them, couldn't walk backwards in them, couldn't swim in them. They'd get stuck on the sandbars. They didn't feel right in the surf, and they're still hanging up in my shed now. They got used twice, I reckon, and that was it. And then it was 5 years later, I went on a holiday to Hawaii, and that's where I bought my first ever fins, and that was sensational. Like every night, just running down for a sunset session. Absolutely brilliant.
Wow. So you were able to purchase some fins in Hawaii. What were the actual fins? Do you remember what color or model they were?
They were the grey and orange ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think they're the ScoMo edition. I think there's a picture of ScoMo with those fins. So when was that trip to Hawaii?
7
years
I reckon,
ago.
7 years ago.
Okay. And that's when I guess you probably stepped up your game a little bit and started taking your body surfing a bit more serious.
Absolutely, because I'd always go into big surf and stuff like that, but it would always be shore break or just past standing depth. And never had a hand plane either, so I always called it naked. So we'd always go body surfing naked and just mucking around in the shore break. And because of that, I had a different technique where I'd kind of hydroplane on both hands and still be able to turn left, turn right, but I'd only lead left or right if it was a real steep bank. Otherwise, I'd basically hydroplane both hands underneath, tilted upwards and then just turn and steer and carve around people. was absolutely, it
So
was
you,
cool.
you bring your fins back from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Where's the first place in Australia you took them?
It would have been Torquay, which
Right.
is currently hometown. So I'm based in Melbourne, but I'm Torquay every other weekend, and yeah, so that's where I would have taken them out. It would have been perhaps Torquay Main Beach, yeah. And then as soon as I had the fins, then I was hitting the rips like the surfers, just going straight out the back, getting pumping waves, and thinking to myself, how come I didn't do this for the last 25 years? It just upped the game totally.
And what's the scene like down there? What's the body surfing scene like?
Real small body surfing scene. It's basically you see the clubbies go in every weekend. So you've got all your 60, 70-year-olds and they're all in the shore break. They're all standing depth, just catching that shore break basically. We've got a group now, Southern Ocean Scavengers, with probably 5 active members, maybe 9 all up. But there'll be 3 or 4 of us that regularly go out every weekend.
And so how did the passion grow? Like, how did you get to just jumping in to then going to Hawaii? Like, why did body surfing click for you?
Well,
Why did it go, oh, yeah, I'm going to pursue that?
I think, again, because of the army upbringing, my brother and I don't know if we didn't have boogie boards because we didn't have money for it. I don't know what it was, but, we lived in Sydney for 2 years as kids, and Coogee was our main break. And that's all I wanted to do was go to Coogee and body surf. And it just grew from there. But so my brother's, he's lived in different states as well to me, probably Perth. Anyway, long story short, we always catch up on Kangaroo Island, and what we want to do is just body surf. And we'll spend all of our catch-ups just having an epic time. When he was in Perth, we'd go to Scarborough and, just get pitted.
Now, we normally ask our guests, what's in your floppy bucket, but I think it's a bit redundant with you. We already know you got the fins, but you're also the CEO of Whompa Handplanes.
Absolutely.
Talk us through how this came about.
So Whompa Handplanes, making a handplane, it's been a dream of mine for ages. 6 years ago, I moved to Singapore for 9 months. My wife got a secondment. I quit work. I had 9 months off with the kids. It was absolutely brilliant. And there was a company over there called Green Toys. And I just kept saying, how cool would it be to have a recycled handplane? Now, I know Ricky and WAW beat me to it, but I think it's the way of the future anyway. And, it should be sustainable timber. It should be recycled plastic. And that was when I saw those Green Toys. That was when I wanted to do it. I was slow off the mark. It wasn't till COVID where I went, oh, it's now or never. I keep putting it off. And one of the other reasons why I wanted to make a hand plane was I always found the big hand planes really hindered me. You'd have to swim awkwardly, one hand out the front, just swim with one hand. I couldn't take off properly. I'd try and get the hand plane hand out and there'd be too much drag because they're too long. And, it just, basically I wanted a hand plane that was intuitive, that as naked as possible, as small as possible, didn't hinder me. I could duck dive, do dolphin takeoffs, assist with the swimming. And I probably spent 3 years R&Ding, so just prototyping 3D printing. So the 3D prints would be like $120 to $200 each time, and then just tweak it. It initially had sharp, kind of square edges, and just kept tweaking it, and went from there.
Can you talk us through the design a little bit and how you came to some of the decisions you've made for the hand plane?
Absolutely. So I wanted it hand size. I didn't want it to go past the wrist. That way you had that flexibility. Basically, I wanted it as small as possible, but still to give you that assistance, the lift, the hold the line, all the rest of it. And then because it is so short, I just had a bit of fun with the pintail. I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing any other hand planes with pintails. Let's chuck a little pintail on there. Because initially I was going to cut it concave. But you can get away with it just because it's so short, basically. And yeah.
And the thickness of it is it's actually quite thin. I think of someone like
real thin, real light.
A real like a relatively well known designer in Ecto have the metal fly fish, which is very thin. It's slightly thicker than your plane's slightly thicker than that.
Yeah.
How do you think it helps in the water? What makes it different than some of the other hand planes on the market? I think of another recycled plane like the Badfish, which is much thicker, probably quite a lot heavier as well.
Yeah.
How does it operate differently?
Well, to be fair, I actually bought two of the WAW Badfish just because it's such a fantastic idea and good for the environment. But just personally, I found them too thick and too heavy. But everyone's got a different style. Everyone enjoys different hand planes. And I saw my little niche in the market having something super light, super small, unencumbered. So it's basically at its thickest, it's 5mm, tapers off to 3mm at the front. It's got your concave, it cuts a good rail, it holds the line. And you know what, I'm just absolutely stoked seeing other boys out there. The start of Whomp Camp, well, before Whomp, the official Whomp Camp, so Friday morning, we had myself, Hypto, Uga, Robs, and my mate Roger, and we were all just out there on Whompers having an absolute ball. And, it was a nice little left, and everyone was just getting in the pocket, getting pitted. Yeah.
Did you get any photos for like promotional material?
We did get photos. So my mate Roger's here with his digital SOR, and he's documenting. He's going to make a little mini doco for Whomp Camp,
nice.
But also he's filming on slow-mo, so I'm hoping to get lots of 4 or 5 second snippets, and because my Insta's basically it's lacking material. So
content is king, mate.
So content is king. That's it. I'm hoping to get a bit of content out of this trip, and then, mate, some of the pumping waves that we've had.
Big time.
Been brilliant.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Lighthouse and then boomers.
Oh yeah, this morning and this afternoon it was. It was good stuff.
Yeah, it was on.
Speaking about content being king, we just spoke to Rich Evans, and he's got a Whompa.
Yeah,
and,
Rich is awesome.
And we've got a tiny little grab. We can't. Or maybe we could do it in post, but we won't. We're not that technical. But Rich is speaking about your hand plane. And he's stoked on it. He loves it.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
So we'll send you that audio, mate. You'll be able to use that.
That'd be sensational. And that just hypes me up about it as well. Like, seeing the boys using it and people getting stoked on it. I don't know.
I think the coolest thing about having your own company is assembling your team. Have you made any big sign-ins, any big sponsorship deals?
There haven't been any sign-ins or sponsorship deals at the moment. I've just been slammed work-wise, commercial construction, Sparky. I've been doing a kitchen reno at the same time, so till 11 every night. The content's been dropping off, so I've just got to ramp it back up. Launched it at the end of last year, just before Christmas. And it's been good. I've made a few sales, but now I've got to start ramping it up again and getting the interest out there and the stoke.
Is there anyone at Whomp Camp that's caught your eye that you might? I might have a chat to them and see if I can sign them up.
Oh, I haven't even contemplated it. See, I'm not that savvy.
Mate, we've done deals in the past on Whomp Camp. They don't live out. No. Tell us a little bit.
I've had a sale though, which was good. It was like the very first day.
That's good.
Bang, someone was into it. So it was actually Evan Hypto's mate. So he was a shortboard rider, and then he got into matting. He's been matting for a year, and that very first Friday morning session here out at Treachery, that was his first time ever body surfing, and he grabbed the Whompa, and he said out of all the sessions that he's had, that first session at Treachery was still his favourite, and being pitted on the hand plane,
Well, they're down in Victoria as well. Are you guys close by?
I'd never met Evan before, but
Yep.
but yeah, he's near the Tulla in Vic, Hypto's in Torquay. So, you know, close enough, basically. But this is the first time I met Evan. Hypto and we go out fairly regularly. I've got a really good mate in Victoria, Piers. And with Piers, we hit predominantly just the two of us, but hit the big breaks. So, you know, Rinken, Bells Bowl, Winky, Southside. My absolute go-to is 13th Beach Beacons. And that's, you know, 4 or 5 foot pumping. It's magic. It's just perfect A-frames. The right's a bit fat and rolly, and the surfers love carving on it. The left is just gun it and get some cover time, and it's brilliant. It's a reef break, and the sandbar builds out just behind the reef.
And how is it surfing down there? I mean, the water's cold. It comes off the Antarctic. And
she's fresh.
I was down there not too long ago with a friend, and we were on the other side of the bay, on the Mornington side, and went right down to the opening of the bay, and there is a freight train. I do not know what the break is called, but it's hollow, it's slow, it's body surfable. And when I was there was about 6 surfers watching it. What are you guys doing? They go, oh, we can't go out until the tide changes, because it's just funnels out of that bay so quickly that they go, if you go out, you just
keep going.
Yeah, you just keep going. You can't paddle against it. Yeah, so tell us a bit more about how it is surfing down. Like, what's your thickness of your wetsuit? Like,
yeah, at the moment it's thick, and this is a cold start to winter.
Yeah.
So I've got a 5'4", fully hooded. I've got the booties. I've got the gloves.
Wow.
And after an hour, I'm cold, and it's to the point where I've got a 5-litre tub of hot water in the car. So when you get out, you can pour it down your wetty before you even think of changing. But it's to the point where, you know, I'll put some hot water in my booties before going in there, so my feet don't go numb. Because, yeah, in the early days, I'd have thin socks that were full of holes, and you'd come out and you wouldn't feel your feet for 2. It's like you're walking on stumps. You couldn't even feel the rocks you're hitting, and you'd be in pain. Then I'd do a 2-hour drive home, and I'd just have the heater on full heat down on your feet to try and get some feeling back by the end of the trip.
Now, when you got to do all of that, the surf must be pretty good to get you in. Have you ever just gone, it's pretty rubbish, but I'll just jump in for a laugh?
Yeah, well, there's a trick to that as well. Sometimes I suit up at home, and then you're just committed because you're already hot and sweating. It's like when you hop in the car in your jeans and T-shirt, you've got the heater on, you're comfortable, you grab your coffee, and it's like I'll look at Winky, I'll look at Jan Jack, I'll look at Steps, I'll look at Torquay, and then an hour goes by and you're like, oh man, is this happening? So when you're already geared up, ready to go, it tends to work well. And also when you've got some backup as well, a few mates with you.
yeah, I mean, I get scared about the cold. I don't like it. I'll be open and honest. When you're surfing in Fiji or Hawaii, the water temperature just lures you into this false sense of security. It would take quite a lot to get me in the water down there. What's it like surfing up here?
Surf's amazing.
Well, comparatively, what I'm trying to ask is that, I mean, you like with the East Coast, you even have so many like different range of beach breaks, reef breaks. The undertow's different, the bottom's different, the rock size is different. Like, for me, I just think of Victoria as cold and hard and rocky and uninspiring.
There's something
not to sell Victoria to anyone, but
as well, like, no, I completely get what you're saying, because the last couple of days up here, I'm just like, you guys are spoiled. And then the vista and, you know, the mountains and the rocks, and even tonight being in there for the sunset session and seeing the colours and stuff. But with Victoria, there's like the water's really moody and dark, but there's something about the surf. The swell feels bigger. It's like really rolling. We don't tend to get our barrels. I've been some Mornington Peninsula side, Gunnamatta. I've been in some good barrels there. Probably the best left barrel I've ever had. Just, you know, right in the zone, surfers swimming out, and to the point where the surfers stop and start cheering and fist bump you, and you're like, yes, I'm on a good one. But on the other side, on the Torquay side, it's a bit calmer. The waves are, it's hard to explain. Like here, there's so many breaks as well. So if you go to Winky's it's a freight train. It's hard to stay in front of the wave. Like you have an amazing ride, but to keep that pace up, it generally, you see it overtake surfers. And then a wave like, 13th Beach Beacons, it's that perfect shoulder. I reckon it's made for body surfers. On Instagram, I've got one clip there where I had the GoPro on the head mount, and it's 25 seconds clean face. So that was a 4 to 5 foot day. The camera doesn't do it justice, but just the most amazing ride. And it's even to the point where you've got to do a couple of cutbacks just because you're getting ahead of it. So, that perfect pace.
Now, have you managed to have a session at Urban Surf in Melbourne?
I have.
What are your thoughts on the artificial wave there?
My first experience with Urban Surf was getting invited out by the slide team,
Right,
and they did their private little trip there. It was 4 hours, so a 2-hour session, then the hour lunch break, and another 2. It's pretty awesome. It doesn't compare to the ocean. But to tweak your style and
what is the water colder there, or is it colder than the ocean?
It's colder. Yeah. So we've got 14 degrees at the moment in Vic. The pool's 9 degrees. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ice cream headache. I haven't been back for a while. I did one session last year, and really that was like an advanced turn lefts. And that was it was a pretty good time. And
we must have gone to Urban Surf on a good day because we were in our...
We were there the same day, mate.
But we were in our budgies, yeah.
It was cold.
That's right.
It was still cold. It was chilly. Tell us about a time that it's gone a bit sketchy. It might have been down there in Victoria. It might have been up here, like sharks, things like that. Like, what time have you gone, body surfing's not the right thing for me? I shouldn't be doing it.
Well, I've actually... probably my sketchiest time wasn't body surfing, it was goat boating. So my brother and I had a double surf ski that we just used to love back in the day. And probably the biggest surf I've ever been on is this goat boat off Lennox Head. But this particular day, going back to the home stomping ground, Kangaroo Island, Pennington Bay, absolutely pumping, like just four waves staggered out. And mate, we've just paddling hard, just crested one, and the whole surf skis just airborne, lands halfway down the back of the wave. It was pumping, and the next wave was just looming over us. Cars were beeping on the cliff face, and we're like, and it's like, quick, turn around, go, we're gonna get it. The surf ski gets lifted up. We're right on the lip. The lip's on the halfway point between my brother and myself. I'm sitting on the back. He's on the front. I've done the hand on the shoulder. Nice knowing you, mate. And it ripped the surf ski in half in the air. It just... and took about an hour and a half to get in, but it was to the point where I'm like, I can't make it anymore. I'm done. Yeah, lay on the beach for about 2 hours after that, and then got in for a body surf because I'm like, can't let it beat us. If we leave now, we're gonna be scarred and not come back. Yeah. So been a few experiences like that.
How did you go body surfing after that?
Yeah, shory. I could touch the sand. I was happy.
Now we might bring Woofo in. Have you got a question for Andre?
Oh, I'm just curious about the materials you're using for the boards. So you said that
yep.
So recycled plastic. Are they 3D printed, or are they from a mold, or?
From a mold. So all of my prototyping was 3D printed.
Yep.
tweaked it until I got it to the point where I'm like, yep, okay, now I'm going to outlay the big bucks, do the steel mold, the manufacturing. I wanted to keep it all in Australia. So I got the mold made locally in Victoria.
Yep.
The recycled plastic comes from Adelaide, in the little pellet form. And then, plastic injection molding in Vic.
Nice.
So I do a minimum run of 500. So I've got basically I started with 10 white ones and 500 grey ones because that's the minimum purchase. So once I start to get a bit more turnover, then I can start looking at different colours and different options.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, if someone wants to buy one, where do they get one?
Yeah, absolutely. Whompa.com.au.
Nice. And you'll be selling them here, going door to door to each town.
Absolutely.
Offering them a bit of a discount, maybe.
Now, how do you? What's the strap situation like? Because I mean, it's very contentious. The how you put the hand plane on your hand. Everyone has a different feel, a different vibe. Why did you decide to go with the strap? And then what's the kind of? Is there much technology around it? Like I see, it's got a little kind of. It's got
buckle.
Yeah, got a buckle on it. That's a bit different. That's not the same as what. Well, normally it's Velcro that is in most of the body surfing hand planes.
Yeah. So basically, I wanted to do it as simple as possible, and I just found I had utilised a Hush hand plane, and it just had a basically a hemp or a canvas hand strap, and I just found it super comfortable. It wasn't over-engineered. I find a lot of them, big and bulky, over-engineered. I do like it when you've got some protection for your hand with a bit of wetsuit material and stuff like that. But with the soft canvas, I just found it super easy, basically comfortable on the hand. It doesn't pull. It doesn't put pressure. Super easy to adjust in the surf as well. To tighten or loosen or when you change hands. And basically I was after keeping it as simple and accessible and as cheap as possible, and and better for the environment as well, in my opinion. So I've got a New Zealand lady in Victoria that does all the stitching for me as well. So it's all like triple stitched, and I took a bit of inspiration from Bunnings, went to Bunnings and had a look at all their cast straps and, looked at a few of the different stitching designs and went, yep, that's what I want, and I'm after a soft canvas. In saying that, when the boys use it in the surf, I'm like, oh, please give me feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad.
Yeah.
Some people prefer to have the wetsuit material on their hand. I just found it a bit... you've got to set it perfectly to your hand. And if you're passing around in the surf, it's just not as easy for another mate to quickly tighten it up and off you go.
How does it go, like changing hands in the surf? Maybe you got to change from left to right, or do you ride tickler because you're pretty much strapped in?
I ride tickler, which is
controversial.
Which is a weak point. I love a left. So my preference is definitely my left hand. So when I catch a right, I tend to do the double hand leading. I can swap it, and I've been trying to swap it to my right, but I just feel a bit awkward as I'm dropping in. Once I'm on the wave, it all goes nicely. But a wave like Winky anyway, the old double hand and getting your
the Superman
pace,
sort of position.
The Superman. You kind of need that for Winky to keep pace with it and stay ahead of it.
Do you find that just looking at the design, have you had much problems with where the strap goes into the board? Because mate, I break straps on my hand planes all the time. Have you had much problems with the stitching or even the breaking of those joins?
In all honesty, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues at all. So my first prototype I was using for 9 months before even releasing it, basically. So this is on the 3D printed hand plane before I did the mold, and yeah, no issues whatsoever. And also, you know, with where it attaches, it's only 5 mil thick, and it's just solid as I've had this in some crazy surf. Probably the biggest, scariest surf I've had the Whompa in would be it was Bell's Winky on a 7-foot day, and that was a one and done kind of day. Every wave, my eyes were like saucers, and as the wave's going up, you're going just freaking out. And even to get out there, you've got the Bell's Bowl. We had to go right to the far right hand side of Bell's Bowl to swim around the whole lot to get to Winky, and just pray that a wipeout set wasn't going to get us. And we got out there. My mate Piers caught 4 bombs, and I did the one and done. I was probably out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours before working up the courage to drop on one. And once I was wiped out, it's like, yep. In on the reef.
I'll go in now. Yeah.
I'm done.
Why Whompa? Why Whompa as the name? I mean, Whomp we've associated so much in Australian body surfing, and I know that Whomp Off is now retired. But yeah, Whompa. Why the name?
Yeah, I think it's a bit iconic. Initially, I actually wanted to call it Torque after Torquay, so TORQ. But there was already a company overseas. I'm not entirely sure where it was, but anyway, long story short, they had already registered it. And I was just throwing names around for the next 3 months. It was actually a big handbrake. I just couldn't think of another name, and just Whomp Handplanes just kept coming back. And then, you know, I was umming and ahhing about it, not too sure about it. Did a few more tweaks, went to IP Australia and registrations and stuff like that to see what I could do and how, and and also with the design, the logo, just kept tweaking it, and then somehow just Whompa came into the mix, and that was it. A little tweak on Whomp went to Whompa, and it's like, yep, sounds right. Let's go.
And it's like, I think that it's really cool to have another recycled material hand plane in the scene. I know that, War did it first. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, it's
definitely the way of the future.
Yeah, and Ricky is not someone that's precious about that stuff. You know, he actually loves to see people design products that are going to save the planet.
Yeah,
that's why he's in the game. You know, it's not a competition for him, and I think that more people should be encouraged to make recycled plastic hand planes. That's where we're going. We need to think more creatively about how we're going with that. So I think that it's really cool that you've designed this product. It's a niche in the market because it's actually such a unique design. You know what? It might not be for everyone, but the thing is, there's a hand plane for everyone. And the great thing about body surfing is that you can have 20 hand planes.
So many in your quiver.
Like, you don't need to have one. Like, they're
Yeah.
cheap enough that you can have 20. Like, and that's what I love. Like, I've got a hand plane for different conditions, you know. And we spoke to Rich, and we spoke to lots of different body surfers over the past few years, and like, they'll have 4 or 5 in their quiver, and they go,
Yeah.
I ride this one on the big days, and I ride this one on the small days, and then I ride the Pipo when it's hollow and slow, and then I ride, like, so.
Yeah.
There's always a plane for horses for courses, really.
Oh, absolutely.
And so for you trying to sell this plane, is it an all condition plane, or is it? Do you like it in specific conditions?
I wouldn't say it's an all condition hand plane. Just like really nice, big pumping surf. Say 2-3 foot, 4-5. It's just, you know, it's in its element. But if it's washed out whitewash, it's no good. You might as well just go out no hand plane.
And that's what I've
yeah.
heard with some of the thinner planes.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
it needs clean conditions.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't have the same kind of resistance that some
Yeah.
of your thicker
Well,
boards
you just
do.
don't have the volume either,
No.
so it's not really assisting you. Even the Cullen wedge was only half a foot if you were lucky. The first competition that I went out with, I didn't even take the hand plane out because it just wasn't worth it. But as soon as you get surf that we've got here at the moment at Boomers and Lighthouse, she's in her element,
And that's it. And
it's brilliant.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off of
Yeah.
it as well. Like it locks into a line, and it keeps you there. You know, it's got
absolutely.
it's got that design element that's going to keep you locked into the position that you want in the wave. And I can even see, because it's small enough that it's not going to impact your swimming either. So it's like, even if you take it out in that smaller surf, you're still going to, like, you still get the natural feel of body surfing, rather than having a big hand plane on. Like, I know that.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big selling points for me as well. And particularly out in your pumping waves, like, Winky Bell's 13th, it just assists your swimming stroke as well. You swim as you normally would, but it's giving you that extra, paddle power basically, which is absolutely brilliant. And then from a safety perspective, I always breach now with the hand plane up in front of my head, because at Winky you've got 3 surfers coming down on top of you, and you're basically coming up with a shield every time you duck dive a wave. And I've hit a few boards, like, came
big
up
time.
and the fin's straight on top of you, and it's been brilliant.
I think that's good natural practice, actually, because I've been doing that as well. But like, for anyone listening, start doing it, because you don't want to. I saw a picture on Corey Sainsbury's phone last night, and it was a board to face incident at Voodoo, and just there was no bottom lip there.
Yeah,
and it's like, so when you're out playing with surfboards, really we're down the food chain. So
100%.
and they don't care. That's the thing. And like, so more protection the better. So I reckon, board in front of your face when you're coming through the back of the wave. That's a good practice to do.
Works really well.
And it's kind of if you turn it upside down, it kind of like is a shape of a shield, isn't it? No, other way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. That way. Yeah. It's like a traditional shield that you'd see.
It's funny that you say that, because I was actually looking at that going, that would be a cool logo on a hat. I'll just do the Whompa upside down, have it as a shield.
There you go, merch.
No.
So,
Yeah.
we'll take some royalties on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely need some more merch, so I'll work on that next. Maybe get some caps and hoodies and t-shirts happening.
And get your crew together.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Anywho, we got to get out of here.
Do you want to sign up?
No, I'm a free agent. I don't. I'm not allowed to endorse any products, but I'll take whatever. We'll do some third-party deals. That's all good. Anyways, we got to get out of here because I'm keen for some dinner. But thank you very much, Andre.
We're having chili.
Guys.
Yeah,
Chili cook-off.
bit of a cook-off. All right. Well, we're missing the chili cook-off.
We are missing the chili cook-off. We're missing the chili cook-off.
Andre, thank you so much for your time tonight, and we'll catch you out in the surf tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Morning. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm free for a Dawny. Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Would you like to do the sign off?
sensational.
Would you like to do the sign off, or would you
I
like
don't
to
think he
maybe
knows the sign
Well,
off.
you can phone
what's
a
your
friend.
sign off?
Yeah, phone a friend. You can phone a friend.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
No. You're meant to whisper what it is, so we don't have to say what it is.
It's always overhead.
He can hear. We can hear you, Woofer. You're meant to whisper it.
It's always overhead when it's body surfing.
Woo! That's better, actually. I'm going to start using that.
That's awesome.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
I need one of these Whompers.